union or you get into the sheet metal union, all you're going to learn is that aspect of that trade or that craft. So in my point, in my side of it, all you're going to learn is everything there's to know about piping and plumbing and pipe fitting, right? In Michael's craft, sheet metal, right? There's so many different facets of sheet metal, with and like with mine also. So and that's where we have that niche, and that's where you're able to say that you're a true craftsman, because whatever craft you choose, you're going to be an elite worker. You're going to have the skill set, the knowledge of everything there is to know about that craft. Whether again it's mine, Michael's, or the carpenters, or the tile setters, whatever it is, because it's not just it's not a simple craft in any of these, right? It's not just about the plumbers unclogging the toilet, right? With the sheet metal, it's not about hanging a piece of ductwork, right? There's different aspects to all of that stuff. So and that's what you get from this apprenticeship program. You know, the niche that we have, I think, is the way it's structured is you could be at work one day and then go to school, and once you're in that school component, you're going to learn a theory or a specific way of doing something, a job task. And the very next day, you're going to have the actual experience to actually apply that knowledge that you learned on the school set, right? That component there is I don't think anywhere else it's offered in that sense, right? A traditional college, right? You do your courses, your classes, and whatever career path you choose, and then you venture out and you apply for these jobs, and then you start learning the ins and out of that specific career. Here, you dive into it quickly, and you're learning the ins and outs, and you're able to apply that theory. Sometimes, like I said, the very next day, and which is invaluable as far as what we got to offer.
That's huge, because if you can apply it right away, it's going to have meaning. And yes, anyone can read anything from a book, but it's only two-dimensional until you actually can utilize it. And you're also going to remember it. It's going to have different meaning because you're putting it into action right away.
And one thing, for us in the San Joaquin County building trades, like Raul stated, we represent 21 trades, 21 affiliates, and that's from the operating engineers for moving the dirt around to the roofers. So everything in construction, there is a apprenticeable craft for that. What we're always speaking on is it's mainly a male dominant field, but no, we want as many women into the trades, and there's an empowerment right now going on of getting women into the construction trades, and through the apprenticeship programs, women are looking and noticing that these are career paths where they don't have to be relying on a man. They're making just as much as a man in these particular crafts. One story was back in earlier last year, I was fortunate to attend a National Building Trades Women in the Trades event where there was over 2,000 women in the construction trades together, and that energy and the power that they have, it's amazing.
Wonderful. And in our county, do you have a sense of what percentage of the workers are women in the trades?
It's not high enough, I will tell you that. Will say it's probably right now 5 to 10%.
That's going to be my guess.
It's going to be, but we're constantly trying to recruit, retract, and retain. That's another issue. It's changing the culture, and that's what our goals at the San Joaquin Building Trades is doing. And we've been working with Tradeswomen Inc. It's a nationwide program, and they're based out of Oakland. And there was just recently a couple of women specific career fairs where us as the trades, we actually bring our female counterparts that are so females are talking to females in the trade. So it's not just a female talking to males; they are talking to someone who's actually in the trades.
That's awesome.
And that those career fairs, we're changing the culture, and that's what it's going to take. It's just one step at a time.
Awesome. That's excellent. Let's back up. Let's talk about, because you've mentioned several times, and I mentioned it also, the building trades. Where is that located? What is the website? How can people access that information? And let's talk about the 21 different career opportunities that you offer.
So I'll take this one. In terms of our website, you can reach us at sjbuildingtrades.org, www.sjbuildingtrades.org. We have a Facebook page also at SJ Building Trades, I believe, San Joaquin Building Trades. When we're speaking on San Joaquin County specific, your question of 21 trades, there's 21 affiliates, but there's actually more trades within each affiliate.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so for instance, let's say DC 16, that's their union, but within there's glazers, flooring, carpet, tile, painters union. So there's multiple crafts within each one of the affiliates also. So you got to think of it, there's more than 21 trades to build the building.
Wonderful. All right. And so does each of those 21 affiliates have their own website as well, or are there links on that county page?
Yes. On our webpage, SJ Building Trades, people who are looking at that in front of us on video, that we have a little brochure here in front of us that actually has all 21 apprenticeship programs within San Joaquin County. But you could also find that on our webpage, www.sjbuildingtrades.org. And each individual program, like what Raul was saying, they are going to vary, but some of the key highlights is usually 18 and over. Those are kind of the minimum requirements. Got to be able to pass a drug test. That's very important. In construction industry, it's could be dangerous, and we want everyone to have a clear head, clear mind. Also, depending on the specific craft, there's a entry apprenticeship test. I know the iron workers and our sheet metal, IBWA, plumbers and pipers, they all have entry apprenticeship tests, and all that information can be found on the webpage.
Awesome. And so let's say that growing up, I'm going to use you for an example, that you were interested in a specific trade. You were fortunate to go to Lincoln High School,
Yes.
which has a program with working with the trades, and we'll talk about that. But let's say there's high schoolers out there, or a family where construction is already part of that family. How young can a student become involved, and how do they make that connection to start building towards an apprenticeship?
Well, again, the age requirement, it's still going to be 18, right? And that's just a liability issue as far as the construction companies and the liability that contractors need to carry. So to actually transition to one of our programs, and that's a commonality straight across any of these crafts, is you got to be at least 18 years of age. The beauty of these programs is that you actually there is no experience required whatsoever to get into these programs. That is the whole point of the apprenticeship program. You will learn everything that you need to learn once you transition into the program, and you work the program and you go through the years, whether it's the 2 or 5 year, depending on the craft. But that's where you're going to learn what you need to learn, right? If you're an individual that has some prior knowledge or experience, a lot of the apprenticeship programs, their structure will give you credit for whatever experience you do bring. But it's an important thing to realize that there is no experience required to get into any of these programs, right? Because the knowledge or the skill set that you're going to learn, it's already part of the program that you're going to get into, if that makes any sense, right?
Mm-hmm, that makes total sense.
Me, when I got in, I never worked a construction job in my life. I was working for Avis Rent-A-Car, washing cars when I was told about this program, and I applied. And that was the first. I never wore a hard hat in my life, right? But I made the best of the opportunity, and I took advantage of it. But again, no experience whatsoever. It's just again, what we want to say is, you just got to be able to know where to look and where to access the information to start you in that path and get you there.
So how are the affiliates, what criteria are they using to judge applicants? Because obviously in that age range, people are not going to have a lot of experience, and you're saying experience is not required. What are you looking at to say, yes, we want this person as an apprentice versus someone else?
So that's a great question. I want to go back a little bit. Did you know what the average age of apprentice right now coming into our programs is?
No.
It's actually closer to 27, 28.
Wow.
So the age group, and that's just individuals applying to get into our apprenticeship programs. We would love to have more individuals coming in right out of high school, 18, 19, 20, but it's just the average age actually getting into our apprenticeship programs and applying is around 28, 29. It's a lot of it has to do with the narrative of high school and pushing toward the college. A lot of individuals are going to college first. They're finding out that they have a degree, and they just are not happy with that office type environment. So then they say, well, I like to work with my hands. Let me get back into the construction field. And then we have lawyers who already passed a bar exam.
Wow.
That's gotten into our apprenticeship program. There's
We got two.
people with
Wow.
degrees. So back to your initial question of the barriers of entry into the requirements for each affiliate. Each affiliate has their own criteria, and because they have their own criteria, it's because these are all state-approved apprenticeship programs via the Division of Apprenticeship Standards, DAS. And so when an individual gets out and graduates the apprenticeship program, they have basically their own degree, a certificate from the state of California that they are the master craftsmen of the plumbers and pipe fitters, or the sheet metal workers. So for the individual, each individual craft has their own kind of entry barriers, but that's why we always stick to the minimum. The minimum requirements is 18, be able to pass a drug test, and have a California driver's license for the most part. And no previous construction is required. It's a lot of times the trades would actually rather have someone with no experience, but then we can train them the way we think is the best, and they actually get the training that they need for that specific craft. And like I said, me and Raul wear two hats. We're president and vice president of the San Joaquin Building Trades, but our bread and butter is sheet metal. Like for me, sheet metal. For Raul, UA 442, and that's the apprenticeship program that I went through. I went through that it was a 4-year apprenticeship program at that time, 4-year apprenticeship program on just sheet metal. So that allowed me to be the master craftsman of sheet metal. But because of our other roles on the building trade side, it's kind of like an umbrella organization where that's why we know a lot about all the individual crafts.
And do you have any members who are dual certified, like in 2 different areas?
There is some individuals that have union cards in 2 different trades. That's something that's been done. And also, even when you're applying to these programs, right? We always say, we always tell people when we're talking, whether it's at a job fair or a high school, wherever we're at, you could apply to all of them if you want, right? You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket and wait for, if you're not particular or if you're not striving for one particular craft, but you just know that you want to get into a construction trade, you could apply to 4, 5, 2, or whatever you want, because there's no rule against that either.
Awesome.
And going back to career fairs,
Yeah.
right now, as we're talking, there's a live career fair
That we're putting on.
that's being put on by
Awesome.
the San Joaquin County Building Trades in partnership with San Joaquin County WorkNet. It's from 10 to 1:30. So at San Joaquin County WorkNet off of 56 South Lincoln Street, and what this career fair is I think there's 12 of these affiliates that have a booth on their specific craft. So if you go right now, today, San Joaquin County WorkNet from 10 to 1:30, 56 South Lincoln Street, you'll have the sheet metal workers, the electricians, the plumbers and pipe fitters, iron workers, laborers, carpenters. Everyone is there and letting everyone know about their individual program.
Awesome. And that even speaks more to you taking the time to be here today. So thank you.
Yeah.
Again, that's awesome. While you have an event going on. What is special about the San Joaquin Builders Association compared to another county? What do you offer that's different? Why should someone that is going to high school here decide to have an apprenticeship with you versus one in the Bay Area?
Well, the biggest one, I think, is that we're local. We're in this, we're a local entity, and you'll be able to earn a good living in this specific area and be able to stay here and not stay away from that commute. I think far too many of our members are already making that commute, right, to the Bay Area and outside San Joaquin County, to make their living where they could very well easily do it here. I think that's the biggest incentive, because I don't think I mean, I know I didn't like making that commute over the Altamont when I had to do it, right? So it's that it's local. Your training centers for the most part are going to be in this area, and you're going to be working locally. You're going to be working on projects that 10 years from now when you're driving and you're going to have, you might not have kids now, but 10 years, 15 years from now, you're going to have kids, and then you could tell them, hey, see that building there? Your dad worked on that, right? I mean,
that's awesome. That's a huge feeling of pride.
It's a huge, I did that, when my kids were younger, right? At the Port of Stockton, I think every smokestack you see out there, there's 3 or 4. I've worked on all those 4 projects, right? So and to this date, I look there and I kind of look back and like, man, I remember those days, and that's a huge incentive, right?
That's
Stay
awesome.
locally, and locally and earn a good living, because a lot of jobs that are here in the valley, they don't pay what they should, in my opinion.
They're
right?
not living wages.
Yeah, they're not living wages, so they're having to make that drive to the Bay Area to be able to afford that home, right? That's one of the caveats of these apprenticeship programs that we offer here, is that you're going to be able to get that livable wage right after start, for the most part, right? A lot of the apprentices going through these programs, they're into their 2nd, 3rd year, and they're already purchasing their homes. That's a common.
Wow.
That's a common.
That's awesome.
That's very common.
That's amazing.
In any of these programs, and I challenge anybody to see if they could bring something like this to the table in the valley, because that's what we bring to the table in a nutshell. It's
awesome.
livable wages where you could raise a family, and give your family the opportunities that they deserve.
Awesome. And you mentioned Port of Stockton, and I just want to give a shout out to Port of Stockton, because I was at the conference for the Hispanic Chamber, their 40th anniversary statewide, and the Port of Stockton was a big sponsor, and I got to take a boat tour of the port, and it was amazing. So thank you, Port of Stockton, for all that you contribute, and not only for your trade, but multiple trade, and how much commerce the Port of Stockton brings to our community. And that's huge tax dollars and revenue with trade all throughout the world. So it's awesome.
Yeah. At Port of Stockton, there was just a recent project that was done out there. It was air gas liquid project, and they just had their grand opening, and there was probably over, I don't know, so say at least 30,000 construction hours were on that project.
Wow.
Of local people from San Joaquin County.
Wonderful.
They took the initiative to have a local agreement in place on that particular project, and that's what we're about. In my current role, in Raul, we were foreman. We were actually working with the tools, and that's something you can't take away from us. And anyone who goes through an apprenticeship program, you have that step, and you're able to have a journey person mentor the young apprentice and show them the right ways and be a master craftsman of that particular craft. And apprentices in our building trades, construction, apprenticeship programs have been around for over 100 years. When everyone thinks apprenticeships, I know apprenticeship is a huge buzzword nowadays, and everyone's trying to mirror our particular programs because they work. They work where individual with no experience, after 3 to 5 years, will be a master craftsman, all while every 6 months, usually it's like a $3 an hour raise every 6 months.
Wow.
Every 6 months, and that's with healthcare, retirement,
Pension.
Exactly. And so when we are speaking to high school students, and in our current role and speaking on programs like this, we're able to just give that message of this is a living wage. You're going to be making usually around $16 to $19 an hour starting, about $35 an hour including with all your benefits. That's just starting.
That's huge.
With no experience. And every 6 months as you progress through the program, if you're doing your homework, you're getting your on-the-job hours as an apprentice, you're going to get about $2 to $3 an hour raise, and that's unheard of in most sectors of the community.
That's amazing, and a huge opportunity, especially for our community, where there's such a high percentage of people that are living at poverty level or just above the poverty line. If you can fast track to, because when we talk about going to college is 4 years or 5 years for your undergraduate degree. For me, I had 4 years on top of it. That's 9 years of education. And during that time, most people are not working, whereas your program offers working and earning an income that whole time that you're learning.
No student loan
debt. No student loan debt, which is amazing. That's a huge win-win. What can we do in our community to have more of the jobs be local, so that when there are trade jobs, construction, things like that, how can we make sure that those contracts are given to our local workers?
Well, part of what we do as far as outreach through the building trades is pretty much advocate for local hire in projects, specifically public works projects that are done by the city or the county, right? These projects pretty much are funded, whether it's through the city of Stockton or the county, San Joaquin County. They're funded by taxpayers' money. So our argument is, why not let the taxpayers themselves work on these projects rather than let them out to outside entities, and then the outside entities bringing in their outside workforce to work on these projects, right? It just doesn't make sense to us, and that's what we advocate for, and we advocate that through different types of outreach that we do. But that's the message that we want to drive in the city is the local hire, right? Giving these projects to our local people. You could give the job to any contractor from any area, right? You could give it to a contractor from Texas, right? But when he comes in here, you want to manage that he uses the local workforce and not bring his workforce from Texas. That's the difference. That's the caveat that we kind of bring to the table, and through partnerships that we've been able to establish so far that we're working on. For example, is the city of Stockton. 3 years ago, we went into a community workforce training agreement with the city of Stockton for that specific task, and it actually came up. Those 3 years came up, and we were up for renewal last month. And part of the agreement that we had was let's track what we're doing, and what the numbers showed was that on the projects so far that have been done under this community workforce agreement, 47% of the work from the that was done by Stockton residents, okay, and I think it was 87% of it was done by San Joaquin County residents, which is huge, right? And what those numbers told us was, or told the council members was, and kudos to them, was that it's obviously working, and they were savvy enough to extend it for another 5 years. In contrast, just to give you some contrast here, I know I said that 3 times, but San Joaquin County Hospital had a recent expansion, right? And we approached the county to endeavor into a local hire agreement with us, and they opted out of it. And those numbers for that job, local San Joaquin residents working on those jobs was at 22%.
Wow.
Everybody else was from outside this area.
And most of those residents from way northern California, past Yuba City, so it wasn't even surrounding counties for
so
most
far away.
Yeah.
And as most of us understand, the local community, the local workforce, the local businesses, which everyone knows, we are the ones who are going to the coffee shop down the street, the Miracle Mile shops that's right outside these doors, and maybe the paying for school or preschool backpacks, all of that is part of the local community.
Little league teams.
Yes,
all of that. It's all local. And you gave me an amazing statistic the other day, because you said for every dollar that is invested in a project where you use local labor, you get $4 back into the community.
And that's on the
amazing.
Low end.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, so let's say that a contractor is hired from the Bay Area, they're more likely to buy supplies from their community, from places that they know, that they already have negotiations with. So we've lost not only on labor and spending coming to people that live here, but we've lost on supplies. You also have the pollution from people commuting back and forth. There are so many things that it makes it, in the bigger picture of things, it makes it so not worth it. It doesn't make sense to not use local.
And also, one thing, I'm real, I always harp on this, that I don't think nobody's able to quantify or put a number to it, right? But if we're not giving our local citizens here local work, keeping them here locally, they're having to go out again, go to the Bay Area, right? And an impact that I don't think it gets an impact that a lot of people don't talk about or enough about is the effects, right, of these parents not being able to attend those Little League games, not being able to attend the after school programs. And because it's important. It's important for those kids to have their parents there, right? And the effect of that is I think it's enormous to point that out, because those are some of the positives of when we start going into these agreements and being able to hold these jobs here and keep them local. Is those are some of the adverse effects that are positive, where the parents, because these parents, they're not doing it, the vast majority, they're not doing it because they're chasing the dollar. It's because that's the only option they have, right? But that's something that's very important, that
They have to put bread on the table.
So
And I want to go give kudos to the current council, City of Stockton council members again, for renewing that agreement, because they saw the proofs in the pudding. The numbers were there. Over the past 3 years, there really wasn't a whole lot of construction going on in City of Stockton, but for the project that there was, over 86% of the workers working on those City of Stockton projects were at least San Joaquin County residents, and almost 50% of them were actually City of Stockton residents. And what that does is, now for the next 5 years, everyone who sees a City of Stockton project, and that's just the public works type projects, they will know, hey, at least they're putting their local community members to work.
That's huge. Let's go back to the 21 affiliates that you talked about. So how many apprenticeship slots are available? So let's say June, there were just a bunch of graduate students. How many openings are there?
Well,
roughly.
I can tell you this, is within San Joaquin County, there is over 10,000 building trades members that live within San Joaquin County. On average, 1/5 of them would be apprentices, and within that 4-year period of time frame, maybe of 2,000 apprentices, 500 would be coming in yearly for San Joaquin County, and that's for all of the apprentice programs combined. I know the numbers for Sheet Metal 104, but I have to talk a little bit more general when you're talking about all 21 apprenticeship programs. Some are taking a lot more in. There's some crafts, like let's say laborers local 73, their offices is in Cherokee, and they have their school off of Cherokee Road. They might be taking more apprentices because that particular craft has more people hours.
And a lot of times it's also based on the work that's going to be there, right? Because it's not going to help anybody. I could bring in 100 apprentices, but if I ain't got slots that work for them, it's not going to help that individual. And then in turn, that's where the project labor agreements or the community workforce agreements that we always trying to go for, that helps us change that narrative. So instead of, for example, if this year I was only going to bring in 10, if I know that there's these agreements in place, I'll be able to bring in 30 instead of 10, right? So I always call it it's a circle. You want to complete that circle, and it's a feeder source, right? The more agreements, the more I open up the opportunities for everybody else, and then it just mushrooms and it grows, right? It's throwing that pebble in the lake, and then just boom, it just keeps growing. But it's got to start somewhere, right?
Definitely.
And that's what we're doing here.
So let's say that someone is interested in a specific trade. What is different about your apprenticeship versus them going to a trade school? Obviously, there's fees involved, but how is the training different? And what about apprenticeship programs that aren't union connected. So let's talk about the pros and cons of those.
I'll take a shot at this one. So the very first part of your question, the difference between a union apprenticeship program and a trade school. 100% definitely that trade fees. I've heard of some particular, and I don't want to call it, but sometimes we call them predatory schools. There's some that are better than others, but they might have $30,000 of student loan debt or more attending a trade specific school and then still not be able to get opportunity of a job.
Wow.
Our union apprenticeship programs, as individual gets in, we're, as the members, we're paying for our future. We understand that we need to educate these members so that they will be there for 25 years, 30 years, and make it a career path. So that's one really big difference, as well as we have job placement for life. As the individual graduates the apprenticeship program, they earn this thing called a journey person card, a state certificate. They could actually take that certificate and go work across the United States, Alaska, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and they will just go knock on the doors of the local union office, and they know this person's a journey person. They graduated an apprenticeship program, and they can go to work. And,
wow.
And for us, it's the same thing. It's my job to make sure that there's continuing opportunities for our current workforce also. So let's say a apprentice graduates, he turns out he gets his journey person card, he gets laid off. What do I do? In the private sector, there is no like job placement. There's like the resume searches, make a resume, go through interview process. The individual gets laid off. He calls me up, Mike, where's the next job? I put him to work somewhere else within the San Joaquin County. And that's the way it works for us, is that job placement for life. And you won't get that out of a trade school. And a lot of individuals who graduate a trade school still end up in our apprenticeship programs. I see that all the time also.
With that debt that they got to pay off.
With that debt.
Wow.
The second part of your question, the difference between a union apprenticeship program and a non-union apprenticeship program. One major difference is our apprenticeship programs have this thing they're called JATC, Joint Apprenticeship Training Committee. And what that means is the board of directors, that's the oversight of the program itself, is going to be half labor, half management. Where for a unilateral non-union program, that's just the owners of the company sitting on the board. So when you have individuals on labor and management working as a partner, that's why they're called labor management. We're both for the best interests of the apprentices and not necessarily trying to maybe necessarily take advantage of said apprentice. The apprentices themselves, they have the training of both sides. So you get the individuals who's gone through the apprenticeship program and actually been there, done that in the trade on the labor side. And then you have the company owners on the management side trying to see the future, what's the needs of their current training that needs to be done for their particular program. And that's every one of these union apprenticeship programs are like that.
And how can we improve people's opinions of unions and see the value in what union means and what your organization specifically is doing?
Well, I think it's kind of what Michael and I are doing right now, right? You look at whether it's my calendar or his calendar, and you'll see various schedules that we have in there where all we're doing is speaking of what we're doing, of the opportunities we got to offer, right? Union aside, I think the most important thing that people need to understand and get is what we're actually offering is that livable wage, the ability to have a job that's going to give you the income where you could actually live comfortably and purchase homes, purchase cars, and also have the health coverage that you need for you and your family, and also be putting into the coffers as far as your retirement. So once you're done in the trade in 25, 30 years, you're going to have a nice little nest egg to rest comfortably. Okay. One important fact that I want to mention is all of these trades here, they're all funded and supported by members only. There's no outside entities feeding into our retirements. There's no government subsidies, nothing. Everything is based, it's kept afloat by the members. So it's a continuing circle that we're doing. That's our incentive. Our training programs, I'll speak, for example, my training program for the plumbers and pipe fitters. An apprentice that goes through my program over those 5 years, we're going to invest, as far as monetary, right? We're going to invest in that apprentice over $60,000 during those 5 years, okay? And all we're asking for that individual is that he's going to be a plumber, pipe fitter, HVAC guy for the next 25 years and then retire comfortably, right? And that keeps the wheel going, right? Because it's all based off, it's all funded through the union dues and membership and what have you, and with the partnership with management.
And one thing to me also that's amazing that you mentioned earlier is the community pride and you being able to show your children something that you worked on that's added to the value of our community. And to me, that's huge as well.
Well, and it changes the trajectory of families. When I talked about and I always say this, when I was working for Avis Rent-A-Car, right? I already had a son and another one in the way, working for Avis Rent-A-Car. Now, I could almost guarantee, obviously I cannot tell the future, but if I have not gone into this apprenticeship program, I don't know where the trajectory for my kids. I got, for example, one of my sons, he's a police officer, right? So that generation, it changed the trajectory of where future generations from where I'm coming from are headed,
That's
right?
awesome.
So, and that's my invested interest in why I'm here and why I'm doing this, because I want to pay it forward, right? I want to change that perspective, that trajectory for that individual and generations that come after him, because that's what we provide. It's a generational shift, a change of somebody that maybe for whatever reasons, past generations have been, living under the poverty and weren't able to get out from that foothold. And just that simple opportunity of getting to one of these programs is going to change his trajectory and for generations to come. And what does that do? It changes, and then once you change that trajectory, it changes the trajectory of the city, and that's and you multiply that times 100 times each
10,000 members of
right?
in San Joaquin
That's the
County.
change.
Yeah.
That's the change that we could bring to this community, And I think we're on our way, but I mean it's a struggle sometimes, but that's kind of where we're at.
And are the apprenticeships seasonal? So is there a start time in the year, or can anyone apply year long, anytime?
So I will say most of the apprenticeship programs sort of follow this calendar sort of school year, but in terms of your question of applying, you could apply in any time. There's constant entry periods, and each specific craft is going to be a little bit different. For Sheet Metal Workers Local 104, we have apprenticeship tests held monthly, second Thursday of every month, and at that point, they can become a qualified applicant to go work in the sheet metal industry and become an apprentice if they end up getting chosen as an apprentice for that specific time frame. So each craft's different. And it's hard because we're talking real general, but I just really want to key in, it's like a livable wage, 18 and over, no student loan debt. That's $50,000 of free training that individuals, and then when they graduate, job placement for life.
And earning money while you're training, and you said every 6 months that amount goes up.
It's usually about $3 an hour total package, usually every 6 months as they progress.
That's huge.
Being able to buy a house, be part of the community. These are true.
Making a difference.
Yeah. These are true careers, and that's why we always stress. These are a career path. This is what you're going to want to do the rest of your life, and you have to make it show that you really want to obtain those goals.
Go back earlier, I mentioned that you were a graduate at Lincoln. How did that impact you in your career choices and being aware of opportunities, and how can we open up programs like that to all high schoolers?
So I was fortunate I graduated in 2001, and at that point in time, there was a phenomenal teacher. His name's Jeff Wright. He started the Lincoln High School Engineering Construction Academy, and at that point in time when I was going through, it was not what it is today. So the students that are attending Lincoln High School now, they have a step up. They're able to sort of see and get a little taste of welding and drafting and AutoCAD and woodworking. When I went through the program, I was taking the drafting classes and AutoCAD classes. And I was fortunate enough where one day a union representative came in and spoke, and that led me to the path I am here today. I've learned about the apprenticeship programs once you're able to graduate. Oh, and also another minimum requirement is most of these trades require a high school diploma also, 70% of them. So that led me to where I'm at today is just attending the high school, and then now what's amazing is me being able to go back to those students, and I've been doing that yearly. It's going back to those students.
Pay it forward.
Every year I go back and I speak to them, and then now it's funny. 3 years ago, one of the individuals that I spoke to is now in the sheet metal workers union. So it is at full circle, and it's just letting them know, plant that seed, and that these are the potential career paths that you can have. And like I said, construction is not for everyone. You're going to get dirty. It's going to be hot. You're in the conditions. You said winter, the heat. These aren't office jobs, but then you still you gain the confidence to know if something breaks in your own house, you can fix it, and you are that master craftsman.
And you essentially have guaranteed employment.
Yes.
And one other thing too. So it's an important point that I want to make is, once you transition into one of these apprenticeship programs, it doesn't mean that, for example, you're going to stay in that ditch for your whole career, right? If you're content and you're that type of guy, that's fine, and you're going to be very successful in that. But a lot of the apprentices that graduate end up being business owners, right? Starting their own companies. And this is common in any craft that we're talking about. They become supervisors. They start running jobs and multi-million-dollar jobs, and then they start running crews of 100. I mean, these are, a lot of those individuals that started off, graduates from these programs, they end up working in CAD, in the CAD and designing the blueprints that get sent out to the construction job. So there's different avenues that this programs will lead you to. You will not always be out there in the field. If you want more from it, you're obviously able to get it. We're an extreme case on that as far as Michael and I, right? We started off with the tools, and we did our, I had 22 years in the field, right? But eventually I wanted more, and I was able to attain that. And these apprenticeship programs, and once you graduate, these unions, they give you the opportunity to advance in whatever other fields that you want to get to, right? Because they're there. You're not always going to end up in that ditch or working. If you strive to be in supervisors and being a project manager or a superintendent, there's avenues there that are going to be allotted for you that you're going to be able to reach that.
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
Awesome.
It's what you make of it. So you're not always going to end up in that trench for those 25 years.
Once you graduate an apprenticeship program, the minimum is just being a journey person. Yeah. And the leaders of your industry, your leaders of your company, there's always going to be someone who's graduated apprenticeship program, who sort of went up the ranks, maybe started running a smaller project, and then eventually, for instance, even the courthouse in downtown Stockton, brand new courthouse. Someone who was basically running that entire job eventually at the start went through our apprenticeship program, and that was a $200 million project.
That's amazing.
So.
That's amazing because it brings it full circle. Earlier, you mentioned that you wanted to give a shout out to the Stockton City Council. Any other people or organizations, companies that you'd like to give shout outs to?
I think we should definitely give a shout out to the trustees of Delta College. They recently saw the foresight to pass a community workforce training agreement for all future Delta College projects. Also,
Awesome.
they understood working and Delta College. I just saw they were ranked like #1 in California
Yes.
because
Yes,
they,
just this week.
because they understand that and Delta Community College is a huge district, and they see and the trustees saw that the people who are paying for bonds should be the ones working on the projects, and that's going forward. And what that
Awesome.
does is the amount of opportunities for new individuals and new apprentices coming in, it's going to impact for decades.
That's
And
huge.
even the partnerships that we're forming with them, right? Working with them and with their existing CTE programs that they got in their college. And I know that we work, and this is way before they entered into this partnership with us, where we already had some good partnerships with them to begin with. Where a lot of, for example, their welding courses there. We have a good relationship with them where there's been quite a few that have transitioned from their welding classes into our apprenticeship program, because we're able to have that dialogue with them. And again, that's the main thing that we want to kind of emphasize, or at least I do want to get across, is that we want to let everybody, we're tired of being the secret.
Yeah.
Right. We want everybody to know. And if I'm going to throw a shout out is, if there's anybody that's listening or watches this podcast and they feel that there's a specific group or a set of individuals that want to hear about what we got to offer, reach out to us and we will be there and we will talk about it.
Awesome. How
And
do
then
they reach you?
Our
How do they-
information is on our webpage, sjbuildingtrades.org. My phone number is on there. My email address is on there. That would be, you could email me, Michael M at smw104.org.
And how about you, Raul?
Me, it's Raul H at local442.com. Reach out to us and we'll be happy to share what we got to offer. Like I said, we're tired of being the secret. We want everybody to know, and we want to flourish. And then also, I don't think this is a shout out, this is a challenge. I challenge, more specifically, I want to say, is this San Joaquin County supervisors to come to the table with us and do something here to help this community as far as local hire. Okay, the numbers work. We've seen it with the city of Stockton, and we want to continue it. We want this city to grow. We want this county to grow and be what the potential that it has. We see it. They call these local unions, right? Because they're made of local people that work in this in this area.
Work and live.
Work and
Exactly.
live in San Joaquin County and Stockton, and we're advocates for our community here, because if our community does better, we do better.
Everyone benefits, and
Everyone
like we said
benefits.
earlier, for every dollar, there's minimally a $4 return.
Yeah.
That's huge. How can you possibly argue against that?
Yeah.
And one other program that we partner with is with the San Joaquin Office of Education, Youth Build. What they do is as they have a construction program at San Joaquin Office of Education, and they're partnering with the San Joaquin County Building Trades, offering MC3 pre-apprenticeship. And what that does is it gives the individuals, the high school students, a little taste of what construction is, and seeing if that's what they really want to do for the rest of their career. So it helps the individuals as they're getting their high school diploma. They don't meet the requirements to get an apprenticeship program, but they're working towards that, and they get a small taste of what construction is about. And that's a partnership with the San Joaquin Building Trades, and it's a nationwide program called Multi-Core Craft Curriculum, MC3. And what it is it's basically kind of like a boot camp pre-apprenticeship program over at Youth Build.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, lots of exciting things. Thank you for all the amazing information that you shared. I'm hoping some of our viewers and listeners are excited about what they've heard, and that you're going to have more students wanting to enroll in the apprenticeship. I hope the meeting today with WorkNet is also successful, that there's lots of applications. And I really appreciate you both being here today, especially when you have that outreach going on.
One more thing in closing. Across there's a United States Department of Labor ruling currently going on that might affect our apprenticeship programs moving forward in the future. For us, if you like what you heard today in terms of livable wages, construction apprenticeships, please go to saveconstructionapprenticeships.org, and fill out why you think apprenticeship programs in construction need to stay the way they currently are. There could be a possible ruling, and for us, it would affect our industry and our programs that's been around for over 100 years. So please, it takes 20 seconds, fill out a comment. If anyone's connected, any people who have gone through apprenticeship program, everyone in San Joaquin County knows someone who's been through an apprenticeship program. To continue on that, please go to saveconstructionapprenticeships.org.
But anyone can go.
Yes.
I can go on
Yes.
there
Yes.
and I can make a comment.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Go ahead and give the website one more time.
Saveconstructionapprenticeships.org, and that's for any friends and family of basically apprenticeship programs in construction, to keep the apprenticeship programs the way they are, federally approved with regulations. We're hoping that we get enough comments where the Department of Labor understands that there's no need to change the current model of apprenticeship programs in construction.
Awesome. I'm glad that you added that. And we should challenge all of our viewers and listeners
Please.
to go on there and
Yes.
please comment in support of the amazing programs that you offer.
Thank you.
All right. Any final comments?
I just want to say in a nutshell, the other 4-year degree, minimum age 18, high school diploma, $50,000 of free training. Just let us know. Go to sjbuildingtrades.org, and all of our apprenticeship programs are on our website also.
Awesome.
I just
Well,
want to thank you, Julie, for having
Thank
us
you.
and giving us another venue for us to spread our word. And again, anybody that's hearing that you think, if you got a group of individuals that would benefit from hearing our message and a detailed explanation of what we got to offer, just reach out to us and we'll be happy to speak.
Awesome. And thank you to both
Thank
of
you.
you for being here today. Building trades are welcome here anytime.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And with that, I'm going to sign off. I am the voice of San Joaquin. You are the voice of San Joaquin. We are the voice of San Joaquin. Let's make it a great day.